Did you ever notice that some people only want you when you're not interested in them? It's not just a problem in modern dating. Ancient Stoic thinkers had a deep understanding of this frustrating pattern. We will look at 9 strong reasons why people often only want you when you no longer want them in today's movie. Stoicism can help us understand this behavior. This video will help you on your journey. Whether you're dealing with a bad relationship, figuring out how to get along with others, or just interested in how people think and feel. Let's begin. Number 1. Value perception changes with scarcity. Value perception is a key part of how we decide what to do, how to organize our actions, and what we think is important. Scarcity is an interesting phenomenon that changes how people think about worth. We often think something is more valuable when it's harder to get, even if the thing itself hasn't changed in value. This idea is important in many areas of life, from money to ties with friends and family. What does scarcity mean? Scarcity means that a resource or thing is hard to get because there aren't many of them. It could be because of physical limits, a lack of time, or a shortage that was made up on purpose. Effects of scarcity on the mind. People tend to value things more when they are scarce, which can make them more desirable and lead to more competition. The scarcity principle uses people's fear of missing out, FOMO, to get them to move quickly to get what they think is valuable. Scarcity and how we think about value. When things are scarce, they can seem amazing. For instance, people often think that limited edition items or rare collectibles are more valuable because they are harder to find. Lots of people think that things that are scarce are more desirable because they are rare or have special traits. Examples of scarcity in the economy. The rule of supply and demand in economics has a direct link to the idea of scarcity. When a product is hard to find, its price usually goes up because more people want it. One example is how the prices of basic goods go up during disasters, or how much rare minerals and metals are worth. Lack of resources in personal and social situations. In relationships, giving someone less time or care can make them seem more valuable or desirable. A lack of social connections can also change how we see chances, like job openings or social requests, making scarcity seem real. To make a thing seem more valuable, marketers often make it seem like there aren't enough of it. Promotions like "while supplies last" or limited time offers are examples. This strategy can cause people to buy things without thinking about it and increase desire for items that aren't necessarily more valuable. Concerns about ethics. Even though scarcity can change how people think about value, it's important to think about the moral consequences, especially when scarcity is created or manipulated. If people know how artificial scarcity affects people's minds, they can make better choices and avoid falling into the traps that are set by it. Taking a Stoic view on lack. Stoicism teaches us to be aware of how we think about value and not let outside forces like lack change our minds. From a Stoic point of view, you should judge something's real value by its own worth, not by how easy it is to get. Knowing how lack of something affects how we think about its value can help us make smarter choices in our personal and business lives. By understanding how shortage affects our minds, we can avoid putting too much value on things or chances just because they are hard to find. This knowledge is very important for developing a more balanced and Stoic way of looking at things and deciding what they're worth. 2. Desire for control. Controlling other people is a basic part of being human. It's the need to have control over the things that happen and the results in our lives. We want this because we need to feel safe, like we can control our surroundings and like we can predict what will happen. A certain amount of control can be helpful, but wanting it too much can cause stress, worry, and poor happiness. From a Stoic point of view, it is important to understand and control this desire if you want to live a more happy and satisfying life. Nature and control of people. The need to be in charge is normal and comes from how we evolved. It gives you a sense of safety and stability in a world that is always changing. The illusion of being in charge. A lot of the things we try to control are out of our hands, like what other people do, and events that happen outside of our control. When we think we have more power than we actually do, it can make us angry and let down. From a Stoic point of view, Stoicism tells us to pay attention to the things we can change, like our thoughts, actions, and responses. We can avoid needless pain by accepting what we can't change. Two types of control. Stoicism says that there are two types of things in life, things we can manage and things we can't. Focusing on the first and accepting the second will give you peace of mind. What happens when you over-control? It's easy to feel anxious, stressed, and like a failure when things don't go as planned when you try to control everything. Relationships can also be strained by over-control because it means trying to control other people. Letting go of charge, giving up the need to be in charge, and embracing uncertainty can help you feel more free and at peace with yourself. Don't be inactive. Instead, accept that you can't control everything and keep your attention on what's important. Usage in real life. Being mindful and self-aware will help you see when you're trying to control things that you can't. You have power over your mind, not outside events, says the Stoic principle. Know this and you will be strong. Living with less power. Trust that life will go as it should and that good things will happen when you focus on what you can change. Accept mistakes and challenges as part of the journey instead of seeing them as control failures. This will help you become more resilient. Focusing on what really counts is a Stoic ideal, and we can live more peaceful, balanced, and happy lives if we understand and control our need for control. 3. The power of indifference. Stoicism is based on the idea that people can stay calm and focused on what really matters by not caring about anything else. Indifference comes from the Greek word apatheia, which means not caring about anything. It's not the same as being emotionless or uncaring. Instead, it's about becoming aware of how to separate ourselves from things we can't change. This lets us focus our thoughts and feelings on things we can change. Stoic philosophers such as Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca said that a lot of human suffering comes from being attached to things like money, rank, other people's opinions, and even our own bodies. They can all change, break down, and be lost. Stoicism says that the key to a happy and peaceful life is to understand that these outside factors are out of our control and shouldn't be the cause of our happiness or sadness. This is where the idea of not caring comes into play. The Stoics thought that being indifferent didn't mean ignoring everything going on around you. The more important thing is to understand what matters, our own ideas, actions, and reactions. By being indifferent to things that don't matter to us, we learn to accept life as it comes and focus on our good qualities and the things that count on us. A big part of the Stoic duality of control is also indifference. Everything falls into two groups based on this principle: things we can control and things we can't. These are the things we have control over: our thoughts, feelings, acts, and decisions. Things like money, health, reputation, and even other people's acts, on the other hand, are out of our hands. According to the Stoic way of life, we should focus our emotions on things we can control and not care about anything else. When we are good at indifference, we free ourselves from suffering that isn't required. No longer does our happiness depend on luck or what other people think. Instead, we find peace in always trying to be good and wise. When looked at this way, indifference can be a very useful tool for living a happy and peaceful life. This idea isn't about pulling away from life. It's about getting more involved with it in a clear and meaningful way. It's about realizing that our true worth and happiness are inside, even though we can work toward goals outside of ourselves. Being indifferent lets us handle life's ups and downs with ease, keeping our attention on what really matters: our character and how we deal with life's problems. How to understand indifference. Stoics doesn't think of indifference as apathy. It thinks of it as a conscious separation from things we can't change. Focusing on our own ideas, actions, and virtues is what it's all about. The two types of control. Stoicism says that there are two kinds of things: those we can control and those we can't. We should only worry about things we can change, like our thoughts and deeds, and not worry about things we can't change, like money, health, or other people's opinions. Freedom from attachments to other people. A lot of human suffering comes from being attached to things like money, position, and reputation. By practicing indifference, we can let go of these attachments and stop pain that isn't necessary. Focus on being good. Being indifferent lets us focus on our good qualities, like being wise, brave, fair, and moderate. True happiness comes from developing these traits, not from what's going on in the outside world. Acceptance and strength. Don't care about how things are going in life, just accept them as they are. This kind of acceptance makes us stronger, so we can handle life's obstacles with grace. Stability of emotions. Being emotionally stable means not caring about things that are out of our control. Having this kind of security is important for keeping your peace and being happy inside, getting involved in life. Being indifferent doesn't mean avoiding life, it means taking part in it with more meaning. It helps us focus on what we do and how we react instead of what happens, which we can't always change. Relationships and lack of interest. When it comes to relationships, being indifferent means not caring too much about how other people see us. We can have better, more balanced relationships if we don't try to control other people and instead focus on how we act. Useful applications. We can practice disinterest in our daily lives by remembering the difference between control and lack of control. Before you respond to something, think about whether you can change it. If you can't, try being indifferent. The power of indifference comes in its ability to free us from the stress that outside factors cause us. It helps us live a life that is focused on what's important, our values, what we do, and our inner peace. 4. The illusion of rejection. Being rejected is one of the most common and strong feelings people have. Being turned down for a job, feeling left out of a social group, or falling in love with someone who doesn't return the love can hurt for a long time. For many of us, though, the pain of being rejected doesn't come from the rejection itself, but from what we think it means. This idea, which is also called the illusion of rejection, says that rejection is not a real thing, but rather a personal view that is shaped by our beliefs, thoughts, and social training. At its core, the idea of rejection comes from the need to fit in and be accepted. Our ancestors evolved to depend on their groups for survival. This meant that being accepted by others was a matter of life and death. Even now, when the stakes aren't as high, this deep-seated fear of being thrown out has stuck around. Today, rejection is seen as a threat to our identity and sense of self-worth. This can make us feel a lot of different emotions, from sadness and anger to worry and depression. There is an illusion of rejection, though, because our worth as humans is not based on what other people think or do. When we look at rejection with self-compassion and distance, we can start to see it not as a sign of how valuable we are, but as something that everyone goes through. By changing how we think about rejection, we can break free from its hold on us and gain strength, confidence, and a greater acceptance of ourselves. We will talk about the different parts of the illusion of rejection in this lesson. These will include its psychological roots, the role of societal effects, and useful ways to get over the fear of rejection. We will also talk about the Stoic view, which tells us to pay attention to our thoughts and deeds instead of things that happen in the outside world. You will have a better idea of how to handle failure with grace by the end of this lesson. You will also feel stronger and more sure of yourself. How to deal with rejection. Rejection is something everyone goes through, but how it affects them depends on how they see it. According to evolutionary psychology, the fear of being rejected is a way for us to stay alive. Social media and cultural standards make people even more afraid of being turned down in today's world. What makes rejection personal? Being rejected is not a fact. It's a feeling that is shaped by your own views and the rules of society. We often wrongly connect our sense of self-worth to approval from others, which makes us more sensitive to rejection. How cognitive distortions do their job. Cognitive errors like personalization and catastrophizing make the pain of rejection worse. By questioning these false ideas, you can lessen the mental effects of rejection. Stoicism and turning down Stoicism tells us that we can't change the things that happen to us, like being rejected. The Stoic way of thinking tells us to pay attention to how we behave and stay calm when we are turned down. Seeing rejection as an opportunity. It's possible to see rejection as a way to move forward instead of a sign of how valuable we are. A lot of great people have used being turned down as a way to grow and succeed. How to get over your fear of being rejected in real life. Be kind to yourself, and keep in mind that being turned down does not mean you are not valuable. Instead of seeing rejection as a failure, see it as feedback or a chance to learn. You can become more resilient by letting yourself be rejected in small, doable ways. The illusion of being rejected in love. When it comes to personal relationships, rejection is often caused by misunderstandings or standards that are not met. Setting limits and learning how to communicate well can help reduce the fear of being rejected. Social media and how rejection gets worse. People's views on acceptance and rejection are skewed by social media, which makes them feel more anxious and insecure. Realizing that social media is edited can help lessen the effect it has on how we feel about being turned down. What detachment can do for you. A central idea in both Stoicism and Eastern beliefs is detachment, which means giving up the need for approval from other people. By working on being detached, we can see rejection more objectively and feel less affected by it. Rejection is a normal part of life, but it doesn't make us who we are. We can handle life's problems with more strength and confidence if we understand and break down the illusion of rejection. Accepting that being rejected is a normal part of being human helps us grow, learn, and eventually do well. 5. Freedom from desire. Many of us are led to think that satisfying our wants is the key to happiness and fulfillment. There is a lot of praise for buying things, consuming, and always wanting more money, more fame, more experiences. Communication from society tells us that wanting things will make us successful, and that keeping going after our wants will make us happy in the end. But, as many people have learned the hard way, constantly chasing after what you want usually only leads to short-lived happiness, followed by a new sense of longing. Wanting something, getting it, and then being unhappy with it can become a never-ending cycle that causes anger, anxiety, and a constant state of unease. This common sense is called into question by the idea of freedom from desire. As the idea goes, we can't find true happiness and peace by constantly chasing our wants. Instead, we can find them by freeing ourselves from their grip. This point of view is not new. It has deep roots in old philosophies, especially Stoicism and Eastern faiths like Buddhism. These schools of thought stress how important it is to be at peace with yourself, have self-mastery, and understand that material things and accomplishments are not the most important things in life. We will talk about the idea of freedom from desire in this lesson. We will look at its intellectual roots, how it can be used in real life, and the big effects it can have on our lives. We will talk about why we want things, how they affect our actions and thoughts, and how we can create a life that isn't controlled by these short-lived wants. Being able to understand and practice freedom from desire can help us be happier, stronger, and live a more worthwhile life. How to understand desire. Desire is a normal human feeling that happens when we feel like something is missing in our lives. It can be a desire for things, status, people, relationships, or events. As a double-edged sword, desire can push us to reach our goals and make our lives better, but it can also be painful when it turns into a passion or when we can't satisfy it. Foundations in philosophy. Stoic viewpoint. According to Stoicism, desire is a way of being attached to things outside of ourselves that we can't always control. We can find peace within ourselves by focusing on the things we can change, like our thoughts and deeds. Buddhist teachings. One of the main reasons of suffering in Buddhism is desire, or tanha. Mindfulness, meditation, and living an ethical life can help you get rid of your desires and reach happiness. The illusion of being happy. Short-term satisfaction. Getting what you want usually only makes you happy for a short time. When you satisfy a desire, you usually feel another one coming on, which can make you crave things all the time. The hedonic treadmill is a psychological idea that people quickly return to a standard level of happiness, even after big events or changes in their lives, whether they are good or bad. Constantly chasing our wants can keep us on this track and keep us from being happy for a long time. Freedom from want detachment. Being detached doesn't mean giving up all of your wants. It means not caring about how your wants turn out. It means being happy with the way things are right now and accepting life as it is. Mindfulness and self-awareness. Mentally being present helps us understand what we want and why we want it. Because we are aware of these things, we can choose consciously instead of letting our inner desires guide us. How to get rid of your desires. Simplifying. We can break out of the cycle of desire by cutting back on wants that aren't necessary and focusing on what really counts. Practice of gratitude. Being grateful changes our attention from what we don't have to what we do have, which makes our desires less strong. Being aware of what we consume, like food, television, or things, helps us make choices that are in line with our values instead of decisions that are made on the spur of the moment because we want something. How to accept things. Acceptance of impermanence. Realizing that everything changes can help us let go of wants that come from the false belief that things will stay the same. Accepting uncertainty. When we accept that life is uncertain and that we can't control everything, we don't have to try to control our situations based on our wants as much. Pros of not having to satisfy your wants. Inner peace. We can achieve a state of inner calm and equanimity, no matter what is going on around us, by reducing the impact of our desires. Resilience. Not wanting anything makes us more resilient, which means we can handle life's problems with less emotional stress. Living an authentic life means following your true values and interests instead of what other people want you to do. This leads to a more genuine and satisfying life. Problems and false beliefs. Misunderstanding of detachment. A lot of the time, people mistake detached feelings for indifference or inaction. In fact, it's about living life to the fullest without letting your wants control you. When it comes to balancing ambition and desire, it's important to know the difference between good ambition and unhealthy desire. Ambition can help you grow as a person, but hunger often makes you unhappy. The way to lasting happiness. Contentment as a practice. Being content is a practice that lasts a lifetime and takes self-awareness, reflection, and a dedication to living in line with your values. Incorporating the ideas of freedom from desire into daily life means doing small things over and over again, like being grateful, making routines easier, and choosing things carefully. A life of freedom. Real freedom isn't being able to get everything you want. It's being able to live your life without those wants controlling you. We can live a life of peace, meaning, and deep joy if we accept the philosophy of freedom from desire. The goal of this lesson is to give you the psychological background and useful tools you need to become free from desire. We can get closer to a state of lasting happiness and inner peace if we understand and follow these rules. 6. The attraction of mystery. People have always been interested in things that aren't clear or can't be described. This attraction isn't just a wonder, it's a basic part of who we are. Mysteries are interesting because they capture our attention, make us think, and push the limits of what we know and what we can experience. From old myths to current puzzles, mysteries are interesting because they make us want to find out more and find out what the truth is. Born with a curiosity, people are usually interested in exploring and learning about the unknown. Mystery sparks our imaginations and makes us think about what might be possible and what's beneath the surface. The power of what can't be seen. The hidden or unknown has a special hold on us because it makes us question what we think we know about the world. A lot of the time, what isn't clear is more interesting than what is. Unknown and fear. The unknown often makes people anxious or scared, which is why mystery can make people scared. But this fear can also be exciting, pushing us to face it and get past it. This is what ambiguity does. Situations or people that aren't clear-cut can be more interesting. Because there aren't any clear answers or meanings, we have to dig deeper to find clarity and understanding. Effects on culture and psychology. Myths, legends, and faiths have been shaped by mysteries, which have given people ways to explain things that can't be explained. Depending on how we approach it, the psychological pull toward mystery can turn into a passion or a deep realization. Using mystery to drive people. In many areas from science to art, the desire to solve mysteries leads to new ideas, creativity, and progress. This desire to find out what's out there can lead to big findings and breakthroughs, the right amount of mystery and clarity. Mystery is interesting, but too much of it can make you feel frustrated or lose interest. A mix between mystery and clarity is often needed to keep people interested without making them lose hope or become confused. Relationships with a mystery. There should be some mystery and personal ties so that things stay interesting. But keeping things too secret or vague can cause doubt and confusion. Mysteries and telling stories. Reading and watching media that includes mysteries is a great way to keep people interested until the end. Adding mystery can make stories more interesting and memorable by building tension. What's spiritual about it? Mystery is seen as a way to enlightenment or greater understanding in many spiritual and philosophical traditions. Being open to the unknown in life can help you feel more at peace and open to acceptance. This lesson looks at how the allure of mystery affects different parts of life, from personal growth to national stories. It also talks about how being open to the unknown can help you learn and grow. 7. The role of self-worth. Self-worth is the value we place on ourselves that isn't based on other people's views, accomplishments, or approval. It's an important part of our mental and emotional health that affects how we act, interact with others, and think about life in general. Stoicism says that our sense of self-worth comes from knowing that we are rational beings and that our values are in line with those natures. No matter what is going on around us, our internal compass helps us live a life with meaning, resilience, and happiness. Intrinsic value versus value from outside. Self-worth comes from within and shouldn't rely on things like money, status, or other people's approval. Validations from outside sources are temporary and not always reliable. Real self-worth comes from within and is based on respecting and knowing yourself. Getting in line with virtue. Stoic says that having a good life, including being wise, brave, fair, and moderate, is linked to feeling good about yourself. Living a good life makes us feel better about our own self-worth because it's based on things we can control, like our thoughts, actions, and reactions, not caring about what other people think. When someone has a lot of self-worth, they don't care what other people think about them and instead focus on their own goals and principles. This indifference doesn't mean not caring about other people. It means not letting other people's opinions shape how you see yourself. Self-worth and being strong. When you have a strong sense of self-worth, you can handle problems and failures better. It supports a way of thinking that sees failures as chances to learn and improve instead of as signs of how valuable someone is. It's important to accept yourself. Accepting yourself, flaws and all, is a key part of having a good sense of self-worth. Self-acceptance brings peace of mind because it lowers the conflict that comes up when you try to meet unrealistic standards. Self-value and getting along. People in healthy relationships value each other, which comes from knowing that you are valuable. People who value themselves are less likely to put up with disrespect or manipulation, which makes relationships that are more real and satisfying. Increasing your own worth. Self-worth can be built and kept up and through practices like self-reflection, mindfulness, and making sure that actions are in line with personal beliefs. Self-worth can grow over time if you regularly judge your life by its virtues and personal growth instead of its financial success. Having self-worth is important for living a healthy and happy life. Our inner strength gives us stability, confidence, and toughness, so we can handle life's trials with grace and purpose. By knowing and caring for our self-worth, we become more in tune with our true selves and live a real, purposeful, and good life. 8. The pursuit of what is lost. We may feel like we've lost many things in our lives, including chances, relationships, things, and even parts of ourselves. The Stoic view of loss can teach us a lot about how to deal with these kinds of things. We can learn to deal with loss calmly and focus on what we can control by looking at how the Stoics dealt with what they had lost. This lesson looks at how the Stoic way of thinking can help us deal with loss and find peace while we look for what is lost. Understanding how loss works. Take into account that death is a normal part of life. Nothing stays the same, and everything changes. Based on what the Stoics teach, we should think about what we can control instead of what we can't, like the loss itself. Accepting the two types of control. Tell the difference between the things you can control and the things you can't. We can't change the things that happen around us, but we can change how we react to them. Get better at taking loss by realizing that it's a normal part of life. How to reframe loss. See losing as a chance to learn more about yourself and grow. It can help us figure out what's important and teach us things about ourselves. Stoic philosophy tells us to think about our good qualities and character instead of things or events outside of us. How to find thanks. Change your attention from what you've lost to what you still have. Develop an attitude of thanks for the present and the things that are still left in life. This method helps lessen feelings of lack and increases appreciation for what is still important. Getting rid of attachments. Know that getting attached to people or things can make you hurt when you lose them. If you want to feel better after losing someone or something, practice non-attachment. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care, but it does mean we should keep a healthy view of our relationships. Accepting that things change. Like the Stoics, you should accept that change is a normal part of life. Accepting this can help you deal with loss more easily. Accepting that things change over time can help you become more resilient and get through times of loss. Putting the focus on action and improvement. Focus your energy on doing good things and getting better as a person. Focus on doing good things and growing as a person instead of focusing on what you've lost. Stoic ideas about living a good life and doing things that matter can help people who are feeling lost find purpose in their lives. Thoughts on philosophical wisdom. You can find comfort and direction in Stoic works and teachings. Think about what thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius said about how to deal with loss. Their ideas can help you deal with loss by giving you both practical advice and spiritual support. By thinking about loss through the lens of these Stoic ideas, you can approach the search for what you've lost with a calm and strong mind. 9. Acceptance of impermanence. Accepting that things change is a key part of Stoic thought, especially since the world is always changing. All things are always changing, which is called impermanence. This idea makes us question our need for security and control. Accepting that life is temporary can help us find more peace, strength, and freedom from needless pain. This lesson looks at how understanding that things change can make your life more balanced and satisfying. How to understand impermanence. Life is full of changes, and they can happen to our feelings, relationships, and situations. Several philosophical and spiritual groups say that impermanence is an essential part of life. From a Stoic point of view, Stoics believe that change is a normal part of the world and not something to be afraid of or fight against. Stoic philosophy says that we should accept what we can't change and focus on how we will react to it. What resistance means. Fighting against change can make you angry, stressed, and hurt. When we fight against the flow of life, we add stress and strife that isn't needed. Advantages of being accepted. Higher resilience. Recognizing that things change over time makes it easier to deal with the problems that come up in life. Emotional balance. Knowing that feelings and events only last for a short time lets us feel them without getting too upset. Freedom from attachment. Being free and happy can come from letting go of rigid ties to results or things. Strategies that work. Mindfulness. Learn to be in the present moment and notice changes without judging them. Meditation. Think about how the fleeting nature of life changes your values and goals on a regular basis. Learning how to adapt means learning how to change your thoughts and actions when things change. How it works in real life. Think about how accepting that things change can change how you deal with problems, losses, and changes. Think about times in the past when accepting change helped you grow or understand something better. Bringing together philosophy and practice, look into how the idea of change affects other Stoic ideas, like virtue, control, and what the good life is all about. Practices like journaling, meditation, and mindful living can help you accept that things change over time. By realizing and accepting that things change, we can develop a more adaptable and strong mind, which will eventually lead to a happier and more fulfilling life. Understanding that people often desire what they can't have is a powerful insight into human nature, and Stoicism offers us valuable tools to navigate this reality. By embracing the principles of indifference, and focusing on our own values and self-worth, we can free ourselves from the cycles of seeking validation and approval from others. Remember, true contentment comes from within, not from the ever-shifting desires of those around us. By cultivating inner strength and self-reliance, we can maintain our peace and clarity, regardless of external circumstances. So, as you move forward, let go of the need to chase after what seems elusive, and instead, invest in your own growth and happiness. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights into Stoicism and personal development.